Hi again. So in this lecture, I'm going to show you the place of the BIOS in the motherboard. So as you can see here, this is the laptop motherboard. Okay. Here in the motherboard, we have always the CPU. This is the GMCH. Here we have the ICH or the circuit bridge. Okay. So always in the motherboard, in the laptop motherboard, you should look for the Super IO, the is IO. So let's check here. We don't have the Super IO. So let's check the other side. As you can see, here we have the is IO. This is the Super IO, as you can see. So usually the BIOS chip is near to the SIO, to the Super Input Output IC. Okay, so let's check here. We don't have the BIOS, so the BIOS should be in the other side of this IC. So let's check. So as you can see, this is the BIOS, as you can see here. Okay, let's check its reference. As you can see here, this is the BIOS reference. We have 25Q16BVS AG. 16, as you can see here, 16 means the capacity or the size of this BIOS is 60 megabit, means 2 megabytes. Okay, because 8-bit equal 1 byte. Okay, so always or usually you will find the BIOS near to the SIO, Super Input IO, or in the other side of this IC. Sometimes you can find the BIOS near to the ICH or to the circuit bridge. And sometimes we'll find that the ICH, the BIOS, and the Super IO is near to each other. So let's check another motherboard. I will show you the BIOS in many motherboards in order to go deeper into understanding the working principle of the BIOS. Here, as you can see, we have another motherboard. So this is the processor, as you can see here. So the processor with the GMCH and also the graphic card. Here we have just in this motherboard two chip, the big chip, this and this. So this is the ICH or the circuit bridge that is responsible for all the connectors and ports in the motherboard. Okay, here this part is the CPU, and here we have the GMCH and the graphic card. So the graphic card and the GMCH is integrated with the CPU, okay, because this is a new motherboard. So let's check. Here we have the ICH, as you can see, and here we have the Super IO, as you can see. So I told you before that the BIOS should be always or usually near to the Super IO or to the ICH. So as you can see, this is the BIOS. You should distinguish between the BIOS and the MOSFET. Always the BIOS has a big chip than the MOSFET. Okay, so here we have the MOSFET, as you can see, and here we have the BIOS. The BIOS is bigger than the MOSFET, and sometimes in some motherboards you will find the BIOS with a mark, a color here, or a bend. Okay, so let's check the reference of this BIOS. As you can see here, we have 25Q32, as you can see. So 25Q32, as you can see, BVSONG. So 32 means what? 32 megabit means 4 megabyte. Okay, 4 megabyte. Always you will find that the reference or the letter that is designed for the BIOS is U, exactly like an IC, because the BIOS is an IC. Okay, so let's check another motherboard. So we will check also this motherboard. So as you can see here we have the processor, as you can see. Here we have the GMCH with the graphic card. So the graphic card integrated with the GMCH. Here we have the ICH or the sort bridge, and here we have the SIO or the Super IO. Okay, so the Super IO is the IC that is responsible for the power in the whole motherboard. Okay, so let's look for the BIOS. So as you can see, here we have the ICH, here we have the Super IO, and here we have the BIOS, as you can see. So this is a MOSFET or a simple IC, and this is the BIOS. Always the BIOS is greater or is bigger than MOSFETs and other ICs with 8 pins. Okay, so as you can see here, we have a color here. Okay, as you can see, this color means the BIOS. Okay, so here we have the 3 components are next to each other. So let's check another motherboard. So as you can see here, also in this motherboard, we have the processor here, we have the GMCH, as you can see here. So let's see the other side. So in the other side, as you can see, we have the ICH or the surge bridge, and here we have the Super IO, as you can see. So let's look for the BIOS. The BIOS should be next to the surge bridge or next to the SIO. So let's check. So as you can see, here we have the Super input output, here we have the BIOS. Do you see the difference between BIOS and ICs or MOSFETs? Do you see the difference? Always the BIOS is bigger. So this is the BIOS. This BIOS, as you can see, it seems that this BIOS is already removed from the motherboard and reprogrammed. As you can see here, this is a new soldering. Here we have a flux. So this BIOS is already reprogrammed. Okay, so this is the BIOS with 8 pins, as you can see, 8 pin. Always the pin number 1, as you can see, you will find the pin number 1 always is marked with a hole here, or as you can see, this mark means this is the pin number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Always the pin number 4 of the BIOS is connected to the ground, and the pin number 8 is connected to the VCC. That's equal to 3.3 volts. We will see all this in the schematics, and we will check the BIOS using the multimeter. Okay, so we will go step by step until you be a pro in the BIOS and how to reprogram it and its schematic, etc. Okay, so in this motherboard, as you can see, we have an old BIOS, as you can see. In the new motherboards, okay, we find just BIOSes with 8 pins. Okay, so also you can reprogram this BIOS using a programmer. I will show you all this in the next lectures.